Hello, good people, and welcome to Autoflowering Cannabis Seeds. In this video, we're going to go over how to assemble a Dake press. This is the 10-ton press, and this is going to be used for a DIY rosin press. So this thing was a pain to put together, so I figured I'd make a video showing you guys the unboxing and how to assemble your unit if you decide to go ahead with this one. First step is to go ahead and throw those directions away because they are pretty much useless. But we're going to be going over step by step on how to assemble this machine, starting with removing all the packing material from the box. The wood you don't need, that was just for packing. This thing does weigh a ton, no pun intended, but it is very heavy to move around. So you might need two people to get this to the location where you're going to be doing the assembly. Now, I'm just removing all the parts from the box. We're going to lay everything out, take out all the hardware, and then we'll go ahead and move forward with the assembly. So in that cardboard box, there's like the bed plates and to mount the press on top. Those plates are in there as well. Here's the pumper thingy, whatever that's called. You guys let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if this video was helpful for you. And even if it wasn't, just go ahead and like and subscribe anyway. It only takes 2 seconds. So, um, like I said, this thing was a big pain in the butt to put together. So, if you could kindly like my video, that is greatly appreciated. We're going to go ahead. Here's the hardware bag. It's got a bunch of bolts in there. Having a ratchet and adjustable wrench is extremely helpful for assembling this, as everything is nuts and bolts. So having a ratchet, you don't need an expensive ratchet set. You only need a couple of sockets and the ratchet, and everything is metric on this. So if you have a standard side ratchet set, you are going to need metric to do this assembly. We are almost done getting everything out of the box. Couple more little things wrapped in bubble. Very well packaged, nice wood packaging, and everything was beautiful upon arrival. So hats off to Dake for the excellent package. And here is all the parts laid out that we're going to be assembling. Now it looks like a complicated mess. Like I said, here's step one in the directions, which if you try to make heads or tails of this, you will not get anywhere. Don't even bother looking at the directions. Just follow my video. You have 8 of those thick screws and 6 of the smaller ones and 2 giant long ones. This I actually found later on, which is really how I assembled the unit, by following this diagram. But let's jump right in and get to the assembly. First thing we're going to do is make the support base, and that one you use the smaller bolts for. So go ahead, grab your smaller bolts. All the holes are pre-drilled and line up beautifully, so the assembly of this was very smooth once I figured everything out. Go ahead and use the bolt and lock washer and the nut on the back. Hand tighten everything for now. And get your other side ready. This is going to be the right side of the unit. You want to make sure that little clip thingy is on the right. That's what we're going to be hanging the pump on. And we're going to do the same thing again. Take off the nut. I love how they pre-assemble the nuts for you. It makes it so easy. And have that lock nut in between the head and the plate. And now we're going to go ahead and attach the side supports. And we use the same hardware for those as we did for that plate that we put on the front. And there's the 2 holes. And again, they line up beautifully to the holes in the side. Boom. You can see how nicely that is machined. Take those small nuts and bolts, and we're going to do the same thing as we did to the front. Just go ahead and get those hand tightened in and put in place. Do the other side next. Same procedure here. I'm just showing it for fun, because why not? You can see my messy basement. And same thing, take the small bolts and bolt this plate down in place. There you go. You can see the lock nut in between the head of the bolt and the plate. Boom. Beautiful. Do one more. You could fast forward through this part. You don't have to watch me apply all the bolts. I just find it helpful to have all the directions laid out step by step because people are different. I happen to be a very handy person and maybe you're not. So it's good to see the whole process. Here we go. The whole base is assembled now. Now we're ready to move on to doing the top portion. And this top pieces use an 18 millimeter socket. And it uses those big fat bolts that you have. There we go. See how nicely that fits in there. Perfect. Now we're going to attach the top plate. Love that little diagram there on the right. And that goes right there, right into those 4 holes. And this is pretty heavy, so just take your time or get someone to help you with the assembly if you need. Go ahead, get that bolt in, hand tighten in the back. And then you could go ahead and do the other 3. You can see everything is still loose until I get the whole thing assembled, and then I'm going to tighten down all these bolts. But it's so much easier to keep everything loose while you do the assembly. And as I said before, the holes, everything lined up beautifully, so the machining is so well done with this. And they're like everything went in nice and smooth. Here's the back view. You can see those bolts going in. It is very hard to hold the camera and put bolts on, so my apologies for that. Doing my best here, people. There we go. Got it on. Looking good. Hand tighten. Go ahead, do the other side. And now that that's all done, we're going to rotate this around. And we're going to apply the back support plate, which looks exactly like the front one, except it doesn't have the name on it. Here we go. And we're going to do the exact same process. We're going to use those nice thick bolts and bolt this on into place. Again, feel free to skip ahead. And it's the same exact thing I did on the front. Just doing it up with this back plate. And nice and easy. Doing it like this one side at a time makes it really easy to do by yourself. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I love helping and showing people what I know, and I'm always happy to answer any questions that you may have. And like I said in the beginning of this video, this is going to be used for a DIY rosin press. So we are going to be doing some presses with this. Not in this video. This video is just the assembly video. So do not expect to see that if you are waiting for that to happen. All right, now we use those 2 giant bolts that came with it. And we're going to be assembling the top of the unit now. This has, on the other side of that plate, it has 2 like raised pieces of metal. And those 2 raised pieces of metal sit in the groove on the top. And I'll show that later. But they sit on the groove. It should sit flat like you see here. And like I said, those 2 raised pieces go right in the middle, so it can't. I actually made an error, and I saw that after I edited the video. Let's take these bolts back out because I put them in the wrong way. And I want to make sure that we do everything 100% again, because I know this is going to be used with a lot of pressure. So remove those bolts. And there's a lock nut and a washer on these. Now the lock nut goes in between the bolt head and the plate, and the washer goes on the bottom. by the nut. So that's what we have to reverse. Just reverse that and then you'll be good to go. Now I'm just tightening up on the bottom and I'm going to ratchet it down and then do the same thing for the other side. Here is the what underneath looks like. You can see where I move that washer there, right on that bolt, on that nut I mean. And now I just have to do the other one and then we'll be all set. Yep, that one right there. This I wanted to show how to tighten down this black ring. So you'll put your screwdriver right in that notch and then you'll give it a couple taps with the hammer. Give me 1 second to readjust the camera. Just give that a couple taps and that'll tighten down nice and snug. The bottom, well, first take off the little plastic collar off the press that we are not going to need. That's probably just for packaging to keep the threads nice and clean. Now here's the bottom plate, and this one has the threaded hole on it. And you see those two raised things, I don't know what to call them, but raised things. Those are going to go in between those two I-beam looking things. And that's again to hold the press nice and steady in the middle. Going to go ahead and just bolt this in place. Hand tighten the beginning. You can leave it loose. It is so the press can slide around. But I'm going to tighten mine in the middle because I'm only going to be using it to press things in the middle. I don't need it offset or anything like that. So go ahead and get that in place and get it all tightened down. Making sure, again, those metal protrusions or whatever they are in the middle. And now just using my, well, before I move on, I forgot to mention you should tighten up all your hardware now because we're about 80% done with the press. So go ahead, tighten up all your bolts on the bottom. Make sure your base is nice and square and it sits nice and flat on the floor. I'm using adjustable wrench and my ratchet to go ahead, and having the extension is so much easier if you have an extension for your ratchet to do these bolts. It is a little bit tight in there, so it is really nice to have the extension on there. Pro tip for you guys. And boom, we're going to hop over to the other side, do the same thing to the bottom bolts. And then we will proceed to do those top bolts as well, making sure everything is nice and tight and solid before moving on. Sometimes the ratchet is a pain to get in when you have a lot of bolts in that tiny place, but we make do with what we have and we make it happen. Now go ahead and put on your large socket and go ahead and do the front and back bolts, making sure those are nice and tight and everything is square. And there we go, that's looking good. And once I figured everything out on how to assemble it, it wasn't too hard. It's just the matter of trying to read the instructions and figuring out was like really just too much for me. So follow the diagram, follow the video, and you'll be fine. Make sure all those bolts are nice and tight. Again, kindly like and subscribe if this video is useful for you. And don't forget to share in case you know of anyone else who is deciding to use this type of press. They might also find it helpful. All right, now that that's all tightened, let's swing this around. And we're going to go ahead and do those bolts. And this is just showing you how to attach to the nuts on the bottom. We're looking, and this is used a 17mm socket. So go ahead and tighten those down and get that all snugged up. Use the adjustable wrench to hold on the bottom, and then just go ahead and ratchet it nice and tight. Okay, and we are looking pretty good. Now we're going to insert the press, threaded side down. That's going to lock into the plate on the bottom with the thread on it. with a big threaded hole and just twist that into place. Here we have the inside view so you can see exactly what's happening. And you can see that just rotating nicely down into that fitting. Beautifully machined, as I said before. Went down nice and smooth, no problems. And now we need to attach the black locking collar on the bottom. See that thread that's sticking, that silver thread? It comes with this black locking nut, locking washer, whatever you want to call it, gasket. And you want to tighten that up with a hammer and screwdriver. You'll use one of those notches on the side and gently, you put a flathead screwdriver in there, give it some taps with a hammer, and that will lock that in, and there will be no movement on the press. Okay, this is how to put on the bed. You slide in these two bolty thingies, and then you drop this, or you gently place it down. It's actually pretty heavy. Don't be afraid to use a friend if you need help with this. And we're gonna put it in the press first. Get it positioned right in between, and you see how you lift it up and place it down. And now it's ready to go. Here's the pump, and there's the notch. That notch will hang on the little hanger that's installed on the frame. Beautiful. Really nice, compact design. Now we only have a couple more things left to do. First, we're going to attach the handle, and that's what you're going to pump to do the pressing. All right, looking good. Now to attach the pump to the press, and you need to take out the red thing off this knob here. Just unscrew it. That'll expose the end. And we need to do the same thing on the press itself. So we need to take out that red insert, and you do that by unscrewing it. Came out nice and easy. And now we're just going to fit those two together and tighten it down. Now what's great about this press is it does come with a pressure gauge, and we're going to be installing that next. There we go. Really nice gauge. You do need an Allen wrench to remove the top bolt, nut, bolt, whatever you call it. I forgot what size this is, but just get one of these Allen kit thingies. They're like pretty affordable, and then you'll just have all of them. Get a metric and a standard one. This way you have all the sizes you need. They do say to use Teflon tape. I did not in this case. I will probably go ahead and do that and redo this and apply it. And then you use your adjustable to just snug it down. So everything is all nice. Nice and tight. Boom. And now you just put your whichever press attachment you want to use. I'm just going with the standard flat bottom one here. And screw that on the bottom. And we are all done with the assembly. Here's the fully assembled press. You can see I put the plates on. And this is ready to go and to do some rosin pressing. Stay tuned for our next video in which we will be installing the plates and doing some presses. Now let's go ahead and test out the press. I have a little empty candle thing here. Now we're just gonna put some pressure on. And smoosh. Beautiful. You can see the pressure is going up as I pump it down. And then just release the pressure. And we're going to smush this net pot next, just for fun. Pump it down. Getting all smushed up. Awesome stuff. And release. Thanks for checking out the video, and we will see you guys in the next one.